Last segment today, Trevor, let's jump into game wreckers. And, obviously these are going to be Notre Dame guys that are game wreckers on the defensive side. And if they can play well, then we like Notre Dame's chances in this matchup. And so I am going to give you the floor on this one, Trevor. Give me some game wreckers for Notre Dame, and then we're gonna give those, and then we're also going to talk about some guys that need to step up, and that could be one of your game wreckers. It's definitely possible. But it also might be kind of like an honorable mention kind of a guy that needs to step up in order for this defense to win the day.
Yeah, man, I love talking game wreckers, and we talked about this on the offensive side of the football too. And for anybody listening that might not understand, like these aren't people that like we're just saying like this would be fun to watch them step up and be a gamer. Obviously, it's people that have the ability to,
right?
But we're not saying, hey, I'm betting the house on this person blowing this game up. More of a fun segment. I know we got some people in here that don't normally watch this show, but this is more of a
welcome.
Yep, welcome in. This is more of a fun segment, and first one for me is Howard Cross. We saw what Riley Mills was able to do and step up when Howard Cross was out, and Riley Mills took over some games, and now it's on Howard Cross. Losing Riley Mills is big, and there's some people that want to downplay it. There's some people that want to make it bigger than what it is. I'm somewhere in the middle. Losing Riley Mills is huge, and you're losing him not just from a production standpoint, you're losing him from a leadership standpoint too. Who do you fall back on? Your other 6-year senior at defensive tackle, who, when we have seen play at his best, is arguably Notre Dame's best interior defensive lineman. You know what I'm saying? He brings a different element to the game. Riley Mills is big, and he can eat up space, and he can forklift guys off the line. Howard Cross beats you with his speed in his first step, in his hands. And Howard Cross is going to have a really, really good game against a big Georgia interior. He's going to have to be somebody that kind of puts the weight on the shoulders of, hey, listen, 9-9, you got us to this point, let me get us to the point where we cross the finish line, at least against Georgia, So Howard Cross is going to be my first one for all the reasons that we talked about, getting penetration in the run game and getting pressure on Gunnar Stockton. Second one for me, and it's going to be pretty obvious, is Xavier Watts. He's a guy that no matter what happens, it feels like in every big game Notre Dame has, 0 is around the football. And there's film to back that up. There's stats to back that up, because I know there's some people watching that just don't believe stats are a thing. It is what it is. But Xavier Watts is always around the football. He's a captain. He is your big play guy. He's the best safety in the country. I don't care what anybody says. So he's going to be a guy that can blow this game wide open. I can't tell you how many times I've been watching a Notre Dame football game, right? When it just, you need a momentum shift, or, the offense is starting to gain a little bit of momentum. Who comes up with a turnover? Xavier Watts, So he's going to be the next guy for me. The third one, I'm kind of going, there's a common theme with all the guys that I'm going with here. It's going to be Jack Kaiser. Jack Kaiser is a guy that I think he's had the most experience on this team. He's been starting for this defense since 2021. And this just feels like a game where his leadership is going to shine out. He's played against, I guess I can't say he's played in these games before, but he's played in big games for Notre Dame. And you have a young linebacking core. Drake Bowen is in his first season as a starter. Jaden Osbury is in his first season as getting meaningful minutes. Kingston Viliamasa might be back for this week. Who knows? He's back at practice this week. He's a true freshman. And I think in a game of this magnitude, you're going to kind of look to the guy that's been the leader of this group all season long. And, Jack Kaiser has that opportunity. This is going to be a slug it out, ground and pound type of game. And I don't know if there's anybody else I would want more on my team than 24, because it feels like that's just the style of football he plays, man. Grew up in small town Indiana, country kid, grew up on a farm, raised baling hay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, this seems like a game where Jack Kaiser could come away and have a big one. So those are my 3, Vince.
Fair enough. I had one of your 3, so I'm not going to throw more flowers at Xavier Watts because he deserves every one of them, but he is a clear game wrecker and an X factor, and whatever term you want to use for Xavier Watts, he's that guy. And they go as he goes defensively. If he has a bad game, it's not going to end well for Notre Dame. Like that's where I'm at. And so Xavier Watts is the dude, and he needs to be a dude. Like, you know how Brian always says, like, one of his favorite things to say is, you need your dudes to be dudes, you need your stars to be stars. Xavier Watts, like, you need to continue to be who you are, and then you'll be fine, right? As far as that's concerned. So he's definitely one of mine. I'm not going to go into any more Xavier Watts. Another one of mine, maybe one that people aren't really thinking about, but I think his role has continued to increase, obviously because of injuries, but then because of his play as well. It's Bryce Young. Like, the kid is just so long. He's so athletic. He's so quick off the ball. I think he's going to make a few plays in this game. I'm not saying he's just going to be the run stuffer and all of these things, but from a pass game, we're trying to figure out, okay, where's the pass rush going to come from? Okay, yeah, I think it can come from 30. I think he can get in the backfield. He can make some things happen. Okay. Obviously, we know how good he is on special teams and his propensity to block kicks and do all of those things. Yes, he's an X factor there as well. Unfortunately, we're not going to be doing a show on special teams, although we should. But he has the potential to be an X factor in this game. You're going to need somebody to step up that hasn't been the guy, the man, the entire season. He's made some plays. I think he has the ability. Like, look, you can give whatever cliche that you want to give, like, oh, he's not a freshman anymore, now that you're in the postseason. You know what I mean? Like, he's had a bunch of reps. He's had a bunch of snaps. Now it's time for talent to take over. And we hear from Georgia fans all the time, and rightfully so, the talent level in the SEC is different. Yeah, it is. There's no doubt about it. But, there's a few players, there are more than a few players at Notre Dame that could play in the SEC. One of those players wears 30. Bryce Young can play in the SEC. Okay. He is very, very, very good. The genes are obviously on his side. His dad's a Hall of Famer. He's very, very good. I think he can be an X factor in this game. So Bryce Young is my first X factor in this game. Well, he's my second. Xavier Watts, Bryce Young. Brian likes to cheat since he owns the company when he talks about X factors sometimes. And so since I'm like the next guy of like the OG, I'm going to cheat on this one. And I'm going to give a 2-man X factor. And that's going to be Leonard Moore and Christian Gray. Because they're going to pick one of these guys to pick on, right? Usually it's Leonard Moore, and then he makes people, look stupid for trying to pick on him. I could see that, right? But we've got some very recent history where USC tried to pick on Christian Gray. Didn't have a great game against USC until the very end, right? He started out really, really strong. He ended the game really, really strong. The middle wasn't great. So what game film is Georgia watching, and who do they decide to pick on, right? Because they're going to pick on somebody. And whether that's Leonard Moore or Christian Gray, that's why I put them both on here, because whoever they decide to pick on, it's going to have to be an X factor. Notre Dame is not going to be able to allow multiple plays down the field. They're not going to be able to allow one of Georgia's receivers to go off, right? You just can't do it. You can give them a play here, a play there, that kind of a thing. Kind of like they did to Indiana. They had the one long play on the first drive. Okay, you got it. Great. It wasn't even a good throw. It just happened to end up being a play that worked. You can let some of those go by. It cannot be a consistent basis. And that kind of goes along the lines of, you can't allow Gunnar Stockton to just sit back and be relaxed and pick out, okay, wherever I see 29, like that's where I'm going. Wherever I see 15, that's where I'm going. You can't allow him to have success like that. And so one of those two guys, if not both would be great, is going to need to step up and be an X factor, not only in the pass game, but then also in the tackling game. Okay. They're going to have to be physical on the outside, on the perimeter. Whether it's the, getting off blocks and coming up and making a play, whether it's, blowing up a tunnel screen, a bubble screen, they're going to have to be physical on the perimeter. I think both of these guys can be physical. We've seen them both be physical, sometimes to a detriment. But at the very least, they need to be physical. They need to turn those guys inside to where Notre Dame's going to be. That's going to be huge. So that's why those two are X factors for me. One or both of those guys is going to have to step up, because where has Notre Dame been weak in the past, right? The skill positions, they can't keep up with SEC speed. They can't do this. They can't do that. They're going to get tested. They're going to get tested. They're going to have to answer the bell. And so that's why those two guys are my final X factor. So I've got Xavier Watts, Bryce Young, and the combo of Moore and Gray for my X factors. Trevor, first of all, your thoughts on my X factors, and second of all, do you have any like honorable mentions, guys that need to step up, things like that?
Yeah, man. I mean, those are all good X factors. Like, it's if it wasn't going to be my picks for those guys, I'd be in the same boat as you. I just tried to go one guy at each level.
I got you. Yeah,
of the team, but you're right. I mean, all of those guys are going to play an integral role in Notre Dame having success. So, yeah, I mean, when Notre Dame's defense is so good, man. I mean, like, can we just be honest about that for a second? Like, there is no person that I think that you could choose to be a game wrecker in this, and it'd be like a what? No, dude. Like, you know what I mean? So, which is why I'm happy that we're doing the honorable mentions, like the next man in, like who needs to step up. I think you and I can both agree that the person at the top of that list is Gabe Rubio. You know, like Gabe Rubio has some big shoes to fill, metaphorically and physically speaking. He has big shoes to fill, right? And he's going to have to do a good job of replacing Riley Mills and stopping the run. Yep. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so he is the one guy across the board on defense that he's going to have to play at a level that he has not played yet this season. Not something that he's not capable of doing.
Right.
Right. Not asking him to turn into, Jerry Tillery or Sheldon Day, but he needs to play at a level that he has not played in 2024. Mm-hmm. He's shown flashes of it in 2023, but he's the first guy. The next guy, probably the last guy for me, since we covered a lot of them, is Adon Schuler.
Okay.
Adon Schuler, with as many screens as Georgia likes to run and with as many screens as I'm expecting them to run with Gunnar Stockton at quarterback, you're going to need guys flying in and blowing up screen plays and filling the alley. And I think that Adon Schuler is going to be that guy, in the screen game. Another game, Kirby Smart's a good coach, right? And I don't think that he's going to ask Stockton to try to put it over top of Xavier Watts. Not a lot of teams, no teams have success in doing that, right? So you're going to kind of have to pick your poison and who you're going to go after, 0 or 8. It's kind of the same thing that you talked about with the corners. They're going to pick on somebody to go on. And this is no disrespect to Adon Schuler. He's an amazing safety. But if I am an offensive coordinator and I'm weighing my options of who to go after in a downfield passing attack, Xavier Watts or Adon Schuler, it's the redshirt freshman. You know what I mean? So I think Adon Schuler is going to have to step up and have a big game as well.
My guy, maybe a guy that doesn't even play, to be perfectly honest with you, but I think he can be somebody that can make some plays and make some things happen if he's healthy enough to go. And that's Kingston. And we're told that he's back at practice. We get to go see practice tomorrow. So we'll let you know kind of what we see out of 27. But if he's healthy enough to go, even in a limited capacity, you put him in a pass rush, situation, or you allow him to get downhill and make a play in the backfield, that kind of a thing. I think he can make some game-changing tackles, Trevor. And I'm hoping that in this game, like they didn't need him against Indiana, in my opinion. I didn't think it was even really all that necessary. I was like, okay, he's out, rest, get better. If he can go in this game, I think he's a guy that will be overlooked by Georgia. I do. I think there's a lot of guys on this defense that you need to take account for, right? You need to take account for Cross. You need to take account for Kaiser. You need to take account for Bowen. You need to take account for Xavier Watts. All like guys at every level, right? I don't know that 27 is going to make it onto the game plan, for Georgia. And I think that's going to be to their detriment. I think, we've seen KVA make plays in, this season and coming downhill and just being a dude for a true freshman, right? I've got 2 true freshmen on my list here, right? I think if he's healthy, even in a limited capacity, I think he can make some plays to kind of turn the tide in this game or get a tackle for loss. It's just really a game-changing kind of a situation, that kind of a thing. And let's not underestimate his skill when it comes to defending the pass. And maybe he gets matched up against one of those tight ends in a big moment and gets a pass breakup, or, God forbid, gets an interception or something like that. Like, he's really, really good in pass defense. And he covers ground very, very quickly. And as much as we've talked about Georgia's tight ends and how good they are, I like KVA against those tight ends too. I think he can play some pretty solid defense in the pass game. So I think that's part of it. And so if he's at all healthy and if he can at all play, I think he's going to be a difference maker in this game. Doesn't have to be every single play, but I think there's going to be a play or two where he's going to be a difference maker. And so I'm excited if he can play. We'll let you know. We're going to go check out practice tomorrow. We're not going to be there for the whole practice, obviously, but we'll be able to see kind of how he's moving around, what he looks like, and all of that. And even though Marcus Freeman said he's questionable, which gives me doubt, I'm hoping that he can at least do something in this game, and I think he can make a game-changing play here or there.
Yeah, I like that. Gosh, I hope he plays.
Me too.
No, I hope he plays.
I mean, talk about SEC speed and physicality. Number 27 in white is going to be that guy. You know what I mean? Like, he can play with these guys. There's no doubt about it. Not saying other guys can't, but he is just a prototypical, downhill, just punch you in the mouth speed guy. So,
oh man, that
fingers crossed, brother.
That good old SEC speed.
Yeah, baby.
Good thing they brought it with him in Columbus.
One final shot for Trevor. I do appreciate that very much. So those are our X factors, our game records. Excuse me. Those are our game records for today. Anything else you want to add to the game record, game changer, situation here, Trevor?
No, man. I mean, the only other person that I would throw in there doesn't even touch the field. It's Al Golden. I mean, he's going to have to. I mean, he's been cooking this season. And after all the losses to injury and just the preseason losses of losing JD and Marist and Cam and Javonte Jean-Baptiste, nobody thought that this defense was going to be able to come in and do what they thought. And on paper, they might be better. So it's crazy to think, but this is going to be, for everybody on the team, their toughest task of the year, of the season. And this is the biggest game of Marcus Freeman's tenure.
Absolutely.
So it's going to be a big one, man. I'm excited.
Oh, fired up, man. I'm so fired up to be down there in person and get to check it all out. And we're going to have some fun down there, and it'll be a lot more fun if Notre Dame can pull out the victory. But, you're going to look, this is going to be a game, baby. Like this, I don't anticipate a blowout in either direction. I think this is going to come right down to it. It is going to be a great game. And that's what, look, right now, the college football playoff needs some great games. And I think Notre Dame, Georgia can bring that to this entire thing. We have independent speed. I like that. That's great. That's fantastic. I feel like this is going to be a great game start to finish. And so that's what I'm hoping that this thing ends up being. And love the Georgia fans that are hanging out with us, and at least the respectful ones. We appreciate the fact that you guys are hanging out. We appreciate all the Irish Breakdown fans that are hanging out as well. We've got today's show. I believe there's going to be a show this evening with Sean and Jesse on IB Nation Sports Talk at 5 o'clock. So you want to stay tuned for that. And then also tomorrow we will be going to practice. And then at 1 o'clock tomorrow, we will have a show where we will talk about practice briefly. And then we will also break down the 4 college football playoff games that are coming. So make sure you hit that notification bell, share with your family and friends. That's going to be key because we do have a show tomorrow. I believe we are going to simulcast that show at Irish Breakdown and the CFB Nation channel. But you want to hit that notification bell on both if you want to catch that show. So make sure you do that. But we are going to go live tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Talk about practice, talk about the 4 college football playoff games. We're going to have some fun with it. It'll be me, Trevor, and Brian on that show. Maybe a special guest appearance by Sean Stiers. We'll have to wait and see. But it should be a lot of fun. Nice little roundtable excitement for that game. So make sure you check it out. So, Trevor, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, I'm good, man. I need New Year's Day to be here tomorrow.
Oh, no kidding. You're not wrong. You're not wrong, but we're a few days away. So, hey, make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button, that notification bell, share with your family and friends. Of course, jump on the boards right down there, boards.irishbreakdown.com. And we will talk to you tomorrow on the Irish Breakdown podcast. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody.